You are watching Access LaPorte County Channel 97. Coming up next is the August 25th meeting for the Long Beach Stormwater Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Okay, we're going to call the Stormwater Advisory Board meeting to order. Any discussion about the previous minutes? Everything look okay to everyone? All right, good. Then we'll move on to the review of the fund projection.
Sorry to interrupt.
Do you think
Are
we
we-
could do Norm first so he doesn't have to stay for the whole meeting?
Oh, okay. Norm, we have any public comments?
Well, Cindy, real quick though, do we want to approve the July minutes or wait until the following quarterly meeting to do that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any public comments?
Just go to the, just because, so it records better on Zoom, not that probably we have
Okay.
any people in the audience listening, but
Norm Brimmer, 2800 Lindale Way, Long Beach. I just want to go on record here with the board. I have an ongoing stormwater issue, particularly when it rains hard. This was an unusual rain that we had, but it's happened 2 or 3 times this summer. Every time it rains, my garage gets flooded because of the French drains. There's a French drain right in front of my driveway, and there's one directly across the street. Those were replaced a couple of years ago when they repaved Brentwood Way. What they put in are the cast ones. We had old brick ones that they took out. These are smaller and they do not drain as well. Consequently, when it rains heavy, both of those French drains back up and flood. I took a couple pictures just so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on there. Let's see. Yeah, that's my vehicle and my driveway.
Oh, this is where the,
Let's see, that's a reflection.
I know.
Yeah.
Where's the drain?
The drain is, you can't see it because it's covered. It's right,
somewhere maybe in
right in
between.
front of my driveway.
There.
And then there's one directly across the street. Those two are connected. And then from there, they run into a real old holding tank, which is across the street. When I saw this summer, the repaving of a number of the streets, I saw them put in these big cisterns.
Norm, can you go back to the mic? Is that okay? Thanks.
Okay, sorry. They put in these big cisterns in the street, which is what would probably work for us. If you'll look at that picture, you'll see that the water all drains right when there's rain. It comes right down to that spot. So I just kind of want to go on record that the next time there's a paving, they consider that procedure for our street with the big cistern in there, that because there's nowhere for the water to drain. Those French drains hold the water and it drains real slow out of there.
What's your address again, Norm?
2800 Lindale. It's on the corner of Lindale and Brentwood. So that my driveway is actually on Brentwood. And the Riley's across the street, right in front of theirs, although their house is a little steeper, it comes up into their driveway as well. So, so I know there's, nothing that probably can be done now. I've talked to the street department guys. They go, do you want us to dig it out? Because it does fill with sand, but I said it's not covering the lateral line that runs between the two. It's just that it just doesn't drain. It holds the water. The old brick one that was in there, it would allow water to drain out. So this was an improvement, but it really wasn't an improvement. So that's my issue. If I could just, go on record so that when they do consider a repaving of that street, that they do consider putting in a big cistern that would hold the rainwater.
Okay, thank you. So
Okay.
noted.
Any questions?
Much. Yeah.
All right. Well,
We
thank
will
you.
follow up.
That was pretty easy. Thank you.
Well, we didn't solve the problem, but
Yeah,
delivering
but
the
so
message
noted.
was easy.
But we
We
hope
will.
to.
We hope to, yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Norman.
All right. Next we have the review of the fund projection.
So this is prepared as of July. So you can see again, the budget. So there's the stormwater receipts. We're a little bit over halfway through the year. So our actual should come in, well, let's see, 264. So it actually looks like it may come in a little bit higher. But we will see, I suppose. And the disbursements, since Larry's here, I don't know if he can, we've discussed these MS4 expenses and how, if anything is particular to that, that it can be expensed from this fund. So you'll see the personal services are a little bit of, I believe that's some wages of honor potentially.
Operating supplies, are those for the MS4 coordinator?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And then
And
Repair
all
and
this money
maintenance.
in this fund, does all of this just come from the $15 a month from each
Correct.
resident?
correct. So it can only be spent on stormwater items. So you'll see in the projected for 25, that purple highlighted 70,000.
Yes.
That is already spent in that capital outlay, the 295. So what makes up that 295? So the 70,000 was the allotted capital for this year. And that was spent on the part of the CCMG project. Much of that project was stormwater work. And a good amount of the Lakeshore Drive paving would be stormwater work. So more of this cash could be spent on the Lakeshore Drive. It just depends how much we have. So, and again, I have to just distinguish between actual paving versus stormwater. So I don't want to pay a bill. I need it to be clear which portion is stormwater and making sure that it's only spent on stormwater. So I think later in the agenda, whether we do it after this discussion, the bill has already been paid, but I would like the stormwater board to just make a motion and acknowledge that you are aware that the allotted capital was spent on this invoice. It was, you guys approved it at the council meeting to pay the Reith Riley bill. So out of the $278,000 bill, $208,000 was paid from a different capital area. And then the 70,000, much of this bill was stormwater related. So I just allotted to kind of expense that for the year. So I won't spend any more capital for the year on the final CCMG bills. The other portion of that 295 was the closeout of stop 17 and 18 stormwater project. So council also approved that. So the 70,000 was part of, that was paid in May. So it was approved at the April council meeting, I believe. Let me confirm
I'm
that.
sorry, Meg, close out of what stormwater project?
Stop 17 and 18.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 70,000 for the 25 CCMG, it's actually the 2024-02 CCMG project, but it's the big one we've been doing all year. That was approved at the May council meeting, May 12th. And then this final stormwater bill of $225,264 was approved at the 7/14 council meeting. Although when council approves these, the overall project and plan to use the stormwater funds was actually approved probably by the prior council.
Okay.
So it's technically already approved, but
Mhm.
since it's such a large bill, when that invoice comes, you guys approved it And what we're supposed to do is in future going forward, any bills that I would pay or any projects. So the next project I would assume we would discuss at our meetings is Lakeshore Drive paving. And we would look again at the projection and see what we have saved up. Let's say we don't pave next year,
Mhm.
whether we would do a fall start Lakeshore Drive or fall of a few other streets while we're still figuring out Lakeshore Drive. Council's going to have to assess, and the town, meaning Tom and Mark and myself and Larry and John Wall and whoever, contributes to CCMG and the projects, the capital that is necessary. If we're going to skip a year of CCMG while we plan for Lakeshore Drive, or if we're going to try to, because each year that we don't pave, this is just my opinion, but we're missing out on that grant.
Mhm.
So, and the year that we start paving, the grant is going to be capped, whether it's $1 million or
Mm-hmm.
2 million. This year was the most we ever did, that 1.6 million and change. So that's just for your understanding. So we're kind of done spending out of this fund for this year.
Okay.
So what I was hoping at this meeting is just for a motion, kind of acknowledging that these two bills were paid and your understanding of why stormwater funds were used. So you can look that other purple line in the 2025 projection of the 236,000. That was the Woodruff's closeout of 17 and 18. And that was just an additional appropriation that AA of capital that was planned. So we
How much was that, Meg? The AA, not the,
AA was the 236,000. The final bill was 225,264.86. So that the final bill is included in that under the actual column, under capital outlays, the 295,265.
oh,
So that number is the closeout of 17 and 18 plus the 70,000 on CCMG to Reith Riley.
I got it.
Okay?
All right. So
Okay, so once we paid that, our ending balance right now is $103,191. Okay, so
Okay.
going forward, you can kind of look at now the 26 projection. If we spent another 70,700 in planned capital and that additional appropriation of the 129,300, if we were to pave or if we were to do a stormwater project, those are the planned capital amounts that we could contribute towards it from this fund. And if we did that next year, that would leave us roughly that 106,247 as our balance.
okay.
So we can either build up, so you can look at those purple lines with our planned expenses above the purple line, and then the capital, and you can see that ending balance as it's projected into 27 and 28. So it keeps lessening if we, depending what we spend out of here.
Mhm.
Now, if we don't spend any capital in 26 or 27, or if we start, this will just build up and we can decide when we want to spend some of it.
I agree, though, that we don't want to let those grant opportunities pass us by. So I think it would be,
If we had $1 million in here, we could decide how much of that we wanted to put towards CCMG, depending how much of it was
Mhm.
stormwater related on any project, but we don't have
Mhm.
that kind of money. You can look in the past, it got up to, looks like 23, it was 391,000. And that's when we spent, we were planning to spend that 380,000, but what happened was we didn't end up paying the bill till this year.
Mhm. Mhm.
So.
how is it decided what portion is actual storm? Does like Haas Engineering, is it an actual, or is it just like
a
about
formula.
yeah, is it like? who
I think
has to-
this particular paving project, so much of it was storm, all that pre-work.
Brains. and-
Yes. So I think it just depends how much of that is being done.
But somebody tells you that, you don't have to figure that out, or do
No,
you?
It's,
It's
you can
based on
tell on
proposal,
this.
Okay.
Like how much of it is
Oh, okay,
related to
okay.
drains and
Well, it's more just, you can look at it, and I also called Sam Oze to confirm
Mhm.
that at least this much of it was stormwater.
Okay.
So
So the
most of,
motion-
this was one of the first bills we paid,
Mhm.
so the paving hadn't even started.
Okay.
So it was kind of clear that, you know,
Stormwater.
yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we acknowledge the previous bills that were approved by the council and that we've also reviewed them. And would also approve of them.
And then would you just, it's the
The 70,000 and
to Reith Riley and the 225, 264.86
yes.
to Woodruff's. And then, so Joy motioned,
I'll second.
second by Kendra, all in
Any dis-
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, any discussion, I guess? No.
No.
All in favor?
Mhm.
Okay,
I didn't get the
great.
second
And then
part of
do
that.
you have any other questions on the projection or kind of a better understanding, hopefully, of how this fund works?
Move something else.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I think
The only other, the expenses are not,
Yeah, 70.
again, we've budgeted in 26 for some stormwater expenses, but we aren't necessarily, if we were to start paying Reggie more, who is the MS4 rep, I think, or whatever she's called, but, some of that would be paid out of here. Currently, we're not really, at least last year and this year, we don't have many expenses coming out of here for how many we have budgeted,
Those.
but we probably are leaving that budget in case we need it. So, and if we don't use the expenses, again, it just builds up in that cash balance, and we definitely have ways to use it in these paving projects. So,
So as Meg said, there haven't been any Reggie or consulting related expenses because our permit is a 5-year permit. And it's due next year for 2026. When I turn my budget in to Meg and God bless you, the finance committee every year, I have included, and maybe that's what that 10,000, I didn't bring my budget, I'm sorry, but Meg, maybe that might be what that personal services are. I'm not sure. So I included it in next year's budget. I don't know whether it'll pass muster with the group. But so next year we will pay Reggie probably no more than $6,000 or $8,000, maybe $10,000. I think that's what I included in my budget. Because she will help with getting our permit redone for the next year. There's also a recertification that I have to do next year because we have to have a certified federal inspector on staff, and that's what I am. The only other thing, I know in talking with Meg and Mark, and I think John too, we talked about the stormwater budget, MS4, that's really what stormwater is. And there haven't been many things. We have 9 outfalls on Lakeshore Drive that we're responsible for. And Tom maintains those and he inspects them several times a year. So he keeps a record of that. I keep a record of all the MS4 inspections that I do. So when our audit comes, the only thing that we had an issue with, or the auditor had an issue with last year's audit, was the salt storage barn. Because there were some areas that needed to be repaired because the salt was drifting out or leaking out of the barn. I know that's in the works now. And when I talked to Mark about it in the last month, probably 2 or 3 times, he said that that the council had some other money, I guess, to pay for that. I thought it was coming out of the stormwater budget, and I don't know if that's the case or not. But Mark seemed to think that there was more capital money that was appropriated from some other budget, but
We have 100,000 in the capital plan right now for this year. And Mark and I spoke recently, I think it's going to be a little bit more than that. So we're going to sit down and we're due to kind of update the capital plan and see where we're at mid-year and for just the budget. So I think we'll know a little bit better coming up if we can use or need to use, 10 to 20 of this. But there are various capital.
The only other
areas.
things that from the MS4 standpoint, that I think should be coming out of this budget is certainly Tom and his assistant's time. Every time they do maintenance on a drain, not just on Lakeshore Drive, but anytime they do maintenance on a drain, I would think that it could come out of here. But it was always my understanding that with the Lakeshore Drive paving, and I guess this is a question for Meg, I think a lot of the cost of Lakeshore Drive paving is going to be those 9 outfalls, making sure that they're correct. And some of the other on the hillside of Lakeshore Drive, a lot of those are private drains. And we make a big, I shouldn't say we make a big issue. We make sure, Tom and I make sure that under our MS4 permit, that we're only responsible for the 9 outfalls that the town maintains, outfalls being the ones on the lakeside where water drains. There are a lot of drains on Lakeshore Drive that are on the north side and some on the south side that are private drains. And those drains are the responsibility of the private homeowner to maintain and inspect. The private homeowners quite often, there's one at 29, there's another one at 25 or 24, and there's several down in the lower stops where people have called either Tom or they'll call the building department and say, hey, this drain is plugged up. We're always pretty careful to make sure that they understand that those drains are their responsibility. And not that the town's trying to push it off, but we made certain in our ordinance when we adopted the MS4 ordinance, there was a section there about sometimes people will donate that property to the town, but we don't allow that. The recertification, I mean, I was always under the understanding that, or I guess I had been told that the majority of the stormwater money over the course of until Lakeshore Drive's paid is going to go to redoing all those drains on Lakeshore Drive, which will be a significant part of I don't know how much that grant covers, but I think that's kind of it. From my standpoint, we don't really have a lot of other items in that I guess the building department is responsible for. Tom has an awful lot of things that he's responsible for in drainage, and those are drains throughout the entire town.
Well, and I guess I can ask Trista how much of that would fall under just the street versus stormwater.
Yeah. Right.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, thank you so much, Larry.
Thank you.
We now have a purpose.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was one of the things that happened when in a lot of smaller towns, I don't want to belabor and keep you guys a long time, but a lot of the smaller towns around us are just like us. They have to be their own MS4s and they haven't done anything. And what's happening is their audits are pages long. I don't know what the end game of that is. I mean, if you don't complete the things according to the MS4, our threat was always the paving grants, that if we don't complete our stuff properly, the town may not be able to avail itself of paving grants, as well as, I don't know if the MS4 is tied in. I think it's mainly on the floodplain situation that the residents can't avail themselves to floodplain insurance, but I don't think that enters into it. But a lot of towns, Potawatomi Park is just starting a stormwater fee so that they can develop their program. We were ahead of the game.
All right.
Okay.
So next we need to review the ordinances.
Well, and I am not as familiar with these. I did have to provide them to the auditors
Okay.
during the audit. I guess Larry probably knows more than I do about when these were established, but so Larry, these go back to 2020, both of them. So I'm assuming that's just when we kind of began our program, if you will. I would assume that that's, yeah, because you can see on the projection, there's nothing in 2020. Our first receipts must have went through in 2021, which is actually when this is dated. So it must have started being worked on in 2020 and then went into effect in 2021.
So 2021, that was just an amendment to determine what the cost per month was. Is that correct?
Yeah,
At least that's the way I read it.
that's me too.
Yes,
Contribute.
yes, the user
So we've got
fee.
A special taxing district to collect.
yeah,
revenue.
we've got the
Yeah,
ordinance.
so the 2020-06 establishing the Stormwater Management Department, a stormwater user fee and stormwater operation and maintenance fund. So that's when the fund was opened and maybe it didn't clarify that, the charge or the fee. And that's why that 20-07 followed.
Okay, I think the ordinances all make sense except for C on page 2 of ordinance 2020-06. Says we'll have staggered terms, a 1-year term, a 2-year term, and a 3-year term. And we determined at our last meeting that Kendra's got the 1-year term, I have the 2-year term, and Cindy has the 3-year term. So we're gonna need to change that on our little
Okay.
agenda.
So, mhm.
That's the only comment I
So
have.
my thought is that that would have to go before council.
Okay,
And yes, the fact that you guys voted on that, we should do that as soon as possible. So I will take care of that.
okay.
Add it to the
Okay.
agenda.
Yes, I can add it to, I guess, unless I'm mistaken, I don't really think we have anything to approve on that.
No,
We'll just make those changes to reflect what you voted on at the July meeting and get this updated.
okay.
And then I guess did everybody have a chance to read through them yet?
Mhm.
Or,
Yeah,
okay, and no other changes for the moment?
Nope.
Yeah, so I think we're doing good. And again, I think it's set to follow the Public Works meeting each quarter.
okay.
If we have no projects or invoices, I think, Cindy, it comes to budget and finance, we kind of look at all the funds in that
Mhm.
committee. Do you guys want to plan to meet every quarter or cancel if we have no business?
That's how
Sounds
I think
good.
we should do it, yeah.
Mhm.
So we'll just kind of base it on the Lakeshore Drive project.
Mhm.
Or if, I think at least we would meet before I spent any of the funds out of this account, because those are supposed to be presented to this board and discussed and approved. And then the final payment would probably be approved at council,
Mhm.
any project or payment of capital.
Okay.
Okay,
Sounds good.
great.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
right.